Well, hello and welcome back to the Social Media Magic Podcast. My name is Brittany Verlenich and I am so glad you're here. Honestly, I've thought about changing the podcast title because it's kind of becoming social media and more. I don't know, time will tell. We'll see what happens. But today it is definitely related. However, it is also very much connected to the idea of long form content. So we're taking a step back here and we're looking at content marketing overall, not just social media, but how it interacts with long form content strategy and more specifically SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and that's kind of a theme for this week. You're also going to hear from my friend Nina Clapperton later this week. So if you haven't already, be sure to follow this podcast in your favorite podcast player. And if you're watching here on YouTube, go ahead and like this video and hit subscribe. Click that little bell so that way you never miss notifications of a new video. It's going to be fun. Lots of new videos coming your way. But I'm especially excited for this episode with Nina because we really talk about how social media and SEO work together, and we give some solid examples of that really work across not only the teacher e-commerce space, digital products, but also in travel, in B2B, in service providing, in freelancing. Like, no matter what your business is, honestly, social media and SEO work together, more so now than they ever have before. What I'd love for you to do if you are listening is pause this episode and go do a Google search really quickly. And I want you to just observe what's coming up. Also, if you can and you have the ability to do it, do a Google search on desktop versus the phone and see what differences you see. I think it's really helpful anytime we do any kind of marketing to do a little bit of market research on the actual strategy or platform itself. It's always really good to have a user perspective, and this is especially true with search, but there are a couple of things that I see. So I'm going to do a couple of searches right now, but if you haven't and you have the ability to do it, go ahead and do it. I want you to take a second to notice things. That's a big part of how I teach. That's my teaching style, is making observations. So pause this episode if you can, go do a Google search on your phone versus your desktop. All right, now I'm going to do it for a few different search terms, and I want you to pay attention to what I see. Now, let me also start this next part by saying that there are so many different types of SEO. If you really want to get into it, there's local SEO in your actual local regional area, hair salon near me, Italian restaurant near me, all of that. There's also SEO on the actual platforms themselves, right? So Teachers Pay Teachers has its own search engine and algorithm for rankings. Etsy has its own search engine and algorithm for rankings. Your Shopify store, even internally, probably has that. But we're going to focus on Google just because it's public, it's free. It's also very important, even though it's not the only search engine in town anymore. There are some other ones, like Bing honestly is getting more of the market share. So is DuckDuckGo. And I'm sure other browser companies I just can't think of right now, but Google's probably the one that most of you have the most experience with. So I want to show you how social media and Google searches are really working together. I am going to look up the term and I also want you to pay attention to what's happening here in the search, how to get a blog, trying to figure out what I was about, right? How to get an EIN number. If you see this little search thing, also there's kind of like an icon here, right? Google remembers what you're doing. It's linked to your Google profile. So it might try to find something that I either looked up before or that I've used, right? So this is like a document that I'm working on. This is a presentation I made. This is a blog post I'm working on. This is something it thinks I might be into. It's giving me some ideas. How to get an Arizona driver's license, how to get armadillo scoot. I don't even know what that is, but I do look up cute animals, so maybe that's what it is. How to get an EIN number. So it's kind of trying to figure out, okay, I know that she likes online business stuff. I know she lives in Arizona. Can I figure out what she wants? Because Google's all about helping you organize and access information. But I am going to keep typing, and I want you to see what changes here. It's going to try to figure out what I want. How to get a business license, birth certificate, okay. Something about blog started, blog notice. By the way, these are really good ideas. If you're trying to look for search terms, maybe you're writing a blog post or you're creating a product and you're listing it on a site like TPT or Etsy, this is a really good way looking at not only what you're typing in the search, it's hard to explain if you're listening, but all these different tentative results come up underwards that kind of pop down, and I can click one of those in the drop-down menu if I want to use that as my search term. The more that we type, the more it's considered a long tail keyword search term, right? Or keyword search phrase, the more specific you can get, because that means whoever is searching that one, they are more specific, they know what they want. For example, in the travel space, if I'm searching for hotels in Los Angeles, that is not as specific as hotels in Los Angeles that serve free breakfast, hotels in Los Angeles that allow pets. Same thing on TPT when someone is looking up math facts games. That's pretty broad. Math facts games for third grade students. Math facts games with division facts. math facts games for numbers 7 through 9. You see what I mean? The more words and phrases there, the more specific or clear the searcher is in what they want. And also, that means they're probably a little bit closer to being ready to buy. So that's something else to keep in mind. Now, it is a little bit different when they're already on a marketplace like TPT or Etsy because they're more in the buyer mode, okay? So I want you to remember this, browsers and buyers. There are two kind of purposes and functions that the internet has. At any one given time, someone is more likely browsing or they're getting ready to buy. Keep that in mind as we search. So if I am trying to get my blog post ranked, how to get a blog post published, how to create a blog post, how to create a blog post in WordPress, how to create a blog post in WordPress Elementor, rank higher, rank high, rank article on Google. So I'm going to type that. How to get a blog post to rank article on Google. It doesn't really make sense, but Google understands what it means apparently, how to rank your blog posts on Google. People also ask how to get a blog post on Google. By the way, these questions right here, people also ask if you are writing a blog post or any kind of social media content, honestly, any kind of content, whether it's long form like a blog post, YouTube video, or podcast episode, or short form like a reel, a TikTok, because you do write both on the actual caption that people read and when you're speaking and you set up your captions so that we can read the captions, like if our sound is off, that's searchable too. So make sure that when we're using words on our social media captions and when we're actually speaking them out and creating content, even if it's short form, even if it's our stories on Instagram, that we're being really specific with keywords. You've probably noticed that in the last few months at Google that Reddit and Quora have been coming up more on Google search. We also have Google sharing tips itself. We also have tips from Google. That totally makes sense. They're a search engine. You have a digital marketing agency. That totally makes sense. You have the YouTube videos. Okay, well, that is expected because Google also owns YouTube, and so we're getting long form search results, right? Blog posts or user-generated content. So technically Reddit and Quora are actually kind of short form, but they last a long time, right? 6 months ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. I do notice that YouTube tries to share fresher videos, especially for tech tutorials. I'm recording this in 2024. If I had a video like how to write blog posts that consistently rank well on Google in 2024, that could possibly rank higher than this one. Now, this is Neil Patel, and I think that Google also has a way of knowing which brands have the most authority in that certain topic. So obviously Neil Patel is an OG in the digital marketing space. He knows his stuff. Digital creator Avi, another good one. See 5 key moments in this video. If I go to the drop down, they have timestamps. So they're answering questions that people are searching for, right? So I think many sellers understand the concept generally of SEO, of search engine optimization, that they need to be thinking, what are their people thinking when they're looking for their website or looking for information that would get them to their website, I should say, because they don't really maybe even know about you and your website yet. When they're on the platforms themselves like TBT or Etsy, they're looking for something that leads them to your product or to your content, right? But I want you to notice something. Not every search is going to come up with just blog posts or just YouTube videos. Let's try foldable paper crafts back to school. We actually have videos first. That's really interesting. And I think that's because Google's figuring out, oh, okay, this person wants to see an activity being done. Let's try putting in TikTok and seeing what we get. Look at that. Now under the videos tab, we're not just getting YouTube videos, we're getting TikTok videos as well. If you didn't know, TikTok actually made some changes recently that now they're not only allowing 10-minute videos, they're allowing videos up to an hour depending on your specific account. SEO is becoming even more relevant on social media as social media and long-form content kind of start to intertwine. Sometimes you'll even have short-form video results come up in your search. SEO, or search engine optimization, has become more important on the social media platforms themselves too. You've probably already noticed the TikTok For You page, which is where you log in and you see everything that TikTok thinks you'll like based on your previous interactions or just on what's trending right now. You'll see the same thing on Instagram with the Explore feature, and you might have already noticed even on Facebook when you're scrolling through Reels, sometimes you'll get in faint font something that looks like a keyword search term, how to make enchiladas, how to whatever. That is the long word search phrase that that video or piece of content is ranking for. And the reason it's ranking for that is either because the words are spoken in the video or it's in the text caption, which is where you put the text on a video. And here comes my cat again. She's so cute, isn't she? So strategically, I want you to be thinking about how can you start blending the two? how can you start using more keyword phrases in your actual captions and in the content itself? Of course, you always want for it to sound natural and for it to sound not too forced. We don't want to keyword stuff. But if you were listening and paying attention closely, you've probably already noticed that I use some search terms in this video. That's why I keep saying SEO or search engine optimization, although I also use that in case you don't know what SEO means. You're going to see that throughout more and more content as search and as social media become more closely interlinked. I feel like Pinterest is an excellent example of this, and TikTok has really changed the game too. But I also want to close this episode with having you think about the concept of browsers and buyers. For the longest time, there has been this idea that the internet really only has two purposes, browsing and buying, and we often see this with how we think or how we often consume content on our own. We think of platforms often like Instagram as a place to chill, to just let our brain go as we flip through reels, flick, 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 and we're not really thinking, we're not really looking for anything. We're waiting for the algorithm to tell us what we want to see, what we want to watch, what we want to consume based on previous interactions in the app, on other content we've already seen, or maybe some content preferences that we've indicated, which by the way, you can do that on most platforms and definitely on Instagram now. If you go into your settings, you can tell it exactly what kind of content you'd like to see more or less of. Kind of creepy, but kind of cool. We think about this with Netflix and Amazon, honestly. When you log into Amazon Prime TV, if you have that subscription, you might have a list of shows that you already know you want to watch and you search to go in and search for that show. Or maybe you search for a certain kind of show, right? Like travel shows on Portugal. Maybe you're planning a trip to Portugal and you want to go watch videos about that. Maybe you like cooking shows. I really liked the Great British Baking Show. I'm going to go find more like that. And the algorithms are really smart and savvy. They figured out how people are searching for things. So you even have SEO built into platforms like Netflix and Amazon, but you also have the ability to browse. I have made this joke with my husband so many times that I spend more time trying to figure out what it is I want to watch than actually watching TV on Netflix, which is so annoying in a way. We actually have too many choices. We've gotten to the point where we're like overwhelmed. And it's kind of like having TV from the 90s all over again, like so many channels. But that is what they're doing. They're mixing the search feature, the ability for you to look for exactly what you want. And that's part of what they sell when they sell these subscriptions. And they're selling you this ever-growing, ever-changing content library that they will tell you what's good, right? That they will tell you to watch this. And they have their own algorithms to figure out which rows to show you, which genres you're most interested in, and all that. So there's browsing and search, right? Which are kind of related of like, you're either trying to browse or you're trying to solve a problem. But then there's always been this idea that there are also buyers. And I shouldn't say that these are two different people. I should say it's more like two different modes of internet consumption. There are browsers looking to be entertained, looking to have fun, looking for things that are interesting, looking to connect and waste time. And then there's people who are online to solve a problem. They're trying to go find a worksheet, an activity, just like I did in the search. They're looking for a pizza place near them in Tucson. They're looking for an activity that might be in your shop, or they're looking to learn how to do something. And even though they might not know they're looking for a course or a podcast episode, that might be what the internet shows them that they actually need. And then by watching that video or listening to the podcast episode or reading the blog post, they'll find a resource that actually meets the want or need that they have. So browsing and buying have long been these two different and distinct modes of the internet, but now they're kind of coming together. And I want you to be thinking about that because Instagram isn't just a place for fun anymore. I've heard so many people say that. I buy directly off of Instagram, both off of the link in the bio and by using the ManyChat comment to message funnels all the time. And I'm sure if you think about how you have bought things, of course, everybody's different, but I just look at trends and what humans do in general, you probably have too. So pay attention to your own spending habits. Have you ever bought something, even if it wasn't directly from an influencer, you saw a video and you're like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that. You might even be doing it without thinking about it. Maybe it wasn't you directly, but you saw everybody getting a Stanley Cup and you thought, oh, that's cute. I'm going to buy one. You probably didn't buy it because you were thinking, I want to be in the trend. You just saw other people doing it and you thought that was cool. Well, there was at least one person who saw somebody else have one online and they said that was cool, and so they bought it, and then locally it becomes a trend. So whether you're the first person at your school to buy one, first person at your job or your school to buy one, or you're like the sixth, you are being influenced by the media, and that includes social media. So it wasn't just a browse for you, it also became a purchase decision, even if you didn't make it right then. So there's something to be said about having content both at the awareness phase of becoming aware of what these things are to now in the problem-solving buying phase where someone has a credit card out and they're ready to make a decision. And we can see that on the platforms like TPT and Etsy, where when someone goes and searches on there, they already know generally what they're looking for. They need a worksheet, they need a test, they need bell work, they need something to kill time for 10 minutes while they figure out their stuff because their printer just jammed, whatever it is. They have a problem. They're looking to buy a solution. We want to make sure we have content. We want to have products and services at that phase. We also want to have things for them to browse and binge. Okay, because you never know when they're going to buy something. And of course, you want to make sure we're also creating content that converts and all that. But I really want you to be thinking about how can you create content that is both browse and binge worthy and also that positions yourself in a way that they're ready to buy and they come to you. By the way, I love talking about this stuff if you're new here. Again, my name is Brittany Verlenich. In case you missed the intro, I am a content strategist, social media manager, and the host of this show, Social Media Magic. I would love it if you'd subscribe if you're watching here on YouTube and click that little bell so you never miss notifications of when a new video is posted. If you're listening, go ahead and follow in your podcast player if you haven't already. And I would love to hear what you thought of this episode. Do you have distinct browsing and buying times? Which platforms do you use for each one? I'm so curious. You can send me a DM on Instagram over at Brittany Verlenich, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just go ahead and comment below because I read every single comment. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.